Right now on the National Weather Desk.
Oh, and avalanche control a bit north on I-80. The snow-covered road was open. Tonight, so 654, you got me? Thank you. North on I-80, the snow-covered road.
Right now on the National Weather Desk, California gets a break from the rain, but the floods, rescues, and dangers are far from over.
I'm in awe with all the stuff that's going on. It's terrible.
We'll take a closer look at the role La Nina is playing in the drenching of California.
To explain this, I'm going to have to take a plunge in the Pacific Ocean right off the coast of South America.
Hot, dry weather takes a toll on Texas lakes.
For everybody that's got interests around the lake, it's not a good time.
While Wisconsin ice fishermen are looking for colder weather.
Doesn't look good, especially along the shoreline.
And a beached well in Oregon draws the curious and scientists all wondering the same thing. How did this happen?
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Angela Brown. California is finally seeing a break today from the storms that have not let up since December. But the latest atmospheric river dumped more rain and snow on a soggy and already saturated state. Reservoirs in the state are filling up, and 4 in Santa Clara County spilled over on Monday. Some have seen levels rise to 30 to 40 feet in just the past week. Still, most remain well below capacity and below their historic averages. Flooding remains a problem across the state. This is the state capital, Sacramento, the river overflowing its bank and engulfing a Discovery Park. The runoff from upstream filled the river with white water. Several roads you can see here in the city are still closed because of all of that flooding. And look at this neighborhood. The water surrounds houses and apartments, forcing people right there to walk in knee-deep water. And this was the scene near Stockton, just west of San Francisco, Sunday night and into Monday. First responders waded through waist-deep water to rescue residents at a mobile home park, and a nearby apartment complex was also at risk of flooding. Oracle Mann has more.
I'm hanging in there, man. I'm hanging in there.
Flooding leads to mandatory evacuations Monday at the Arbor Mobile Home Park in Acampo. Larry Rayburn has lived at this small apartment complex right next to the park for more than 20 years.
I'm in awe with all the stuff that's going on. It's terrible. The poor people in that trailer park.
Larry tells me previous flooding at the mobile home park has never impacted this apartment complex, but this time the flood water has seeped its way through and it's actually caused some damage.
If it gets any more, it's going to start flooding into my house, into my apartment.
I'm standing here on Acampo Road in San Joaquin County where the floodwaters have spilled onto the street. The water here, I would say, is about shin deep. And if we go this way, you can see these two schools where the water is right up next to them. This is the Houston School and the Joe Cerna Jr. Charter School, again, where that water has gone through the fence and is right next to the buildings. The conditions here are why the Lodi Unified School District has canceled classes for these two schools. While some had to leave their homes, those who didn't are counting their blessings.
I'm pretty thankful, believe me, because it could be worse.
And the storm brought several more feet of snow to the Sierras along Route 50. Caltrain reports 8 to 10 feet along the road. As you might imagine here, the highway was closed in several spots for snow and avalanche control. A bit north, I-80 was covered with snow, but open with restrictions. One of the big questions this morning is why are parts of the country seeing such a mild winter while places like California are seeing intense winter weather? Part of that is because we are in a La Nina winter. Meteorologist Ryan Mirando explains from Macon, Georgia.
We have had a very mild but also active winter so far. That's because we're under a La Nina pattern. Now, really to explain this, I'm going to have to take a plunge in the Pacific Ocean right off the coast of South America. And normally in these tropical waters, it's relatively warm ocean water. So I'd be rather comfortable under our easterly trade winds. Now, under a La Nina pattern, these easterly trade winds are strengthened, and that pushes all the warm water out farther west and allows colder water from the deeper depths of the ocean to upwell to the surface. And now I'm having a rather chilly swim here in the Pacific, and that's what our La Nina pattern is. This has chain effects for us back here at home, including weakening the jet stream, especially during the winter months. This allows all the Arctic air to come across the U.S. and also bring some storms with it. This is the normal patterns that we see during a La Nina winter. The northwest portions of the nation under more cooler conditions. The west coast gets all of their wet weather, which is exactly what we're seeing with the record rainfall and snowpack that they're getting. And here on the east coast, we also get the wet weather as well. We have been experiencing quite a few rounds of strong to severe storms that have been coming on through. And last Thursday's storms, we had an EF3 tornado on the ground in Spalding County, winds upwards of 165 miles per hour. These are very rare. Only about 6% of tornadoes nationwide are EF3 or stronger, but they account for more than 60% of tornado-related deaths. Now, we have another 9 weeks or so left of winter, so we could have the potential for even more cold air outbreaks or some strong to severe storms to head our way.
The most recent rain in California has not been bad news for everyone, and some are seeing some real benefits here. Sade Brown spoke with farmers near Redding, California about why the recent rain is proving to be good news for their farms.
Wet, stormy weather over the past weeks have brought floodwaters to Tehama County that hasn't been seen for some time. Here's a video taken from a viewer in Corning traveling down Mount Shasta Avenue as the water flooded the roadways and crops. But has the floodwater helped or harmed some property owners? President of the Tehama County Farm Bureau, Martin Spanis, says that's not the case for this particular storm.
The local events actually have been spaced out enough that it's allowed a little bit of time for water to infiltrate the ground and stuff between the storms. The storms, other than some localized flooding and some property damage, have been a godsend to the farmers and ranchers and the general communities at large in California. So,
why is that?
Oh, we've been almost through 5 years of drought, and our groundwater levels are, I mean, it's been a tough deal.
Walnut farmer Sam Mudd says with his 19 years of experience farming walnuts, the atmospheric storm has benefited his crops as well. Has there been a benefit with this flooding?
You know, it's
for you personally, I guess.
The pattern of the rainfall in January has been almost ideal. I mean, I've had at my orchard since the first of the year 8.2 inches of rain, which is almost a third of our average annual rainfall.
Now, flooding on farmlands can cause many types of damage, including crop loss, contamination, and soil erosion, just to name a few.
And to Portland, Oregon now, where the beaches are not flooded. Instead, people are seeing this. A whale washed ashore recently. Officials believe the whale was dead for some time before washing ashore, and NOAA will be handling the remains. Megan Allison has more from Portland.
The spectacle of the week, a sperm whale washed up on Oregon shore. But why?
Over overall, it's just interesting and amazing to see such an animal from the ocean wash ashore this size, right? So definitely an opportunity and experience.
Many just wanted to see it, a mammoth mammal this close. Others described themselves as cetacean enthusiasts who wanted to show their appreciation for this kind of wildlife.
So I'm impressed with the local community for coming out with curiosity and to, share in the grief of the loss of the life of this creature.
This group of scientists are part of what's called the Marine Mammal Stranding Group. So far, they determined this was a juvenile male whale.
It'll take them a few weeks to actually analyze the material, but at that point they'll be able to determine the cause of the death as well as the health of the animal when it perished.
Matt Burke says at this time of year, this is unusual.
This is a little more rare that a sperm whale would come up in the winter, generally more in the summer, but so it is kind of a unique event.
Of course, in Oregon, a beach sperm whale brings back memories of 1970 when K2 filmed the state using dynamite to dispose of a rotting whale carcass in Florence.
That's not a technique that's generally that's used much.
Dynamite isn't part of any plan today. The scientists here describe this scene as a living laboratory and a chance to bring the classroom out into the public.
Our 200 meteorologists across the country sometimes capture some great video, and here is a recent run from meteorologist Nick Stewart in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Nick was in his car storm chasing when he caught this tornado near Williamsburg. The tornado touched down around 2 p.m. on Monday. Thankfully, no injuries were reported. You can see it right there, but Nick said he was caught a little off guard by how rapidly things escalated. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll talk with an expert about rising global temperatures and a look at how a mild winter is impacting the Midwest.
Still in progress just off to my north.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with a look at the Northeast. We have temps topping out in the 30s and 40s today. We actually have a seasonably mild looking day with brighter skies returning. The back edge of that ocean storm in New England has moved out. We're starting the day with some sun, but the trend will be for thickening clouds. Notice a few scattered showers there as well. Now, as we go into midweek, a little front will produce more clouds and sun, and there's the chance for a few rain and snow showers going into the middle of the week as well, with high temps again in the 30s and 40s.
I'm meteorologist Amy Aronson, and here's a look at the mid-Atlantic region. Mild temperatures on Tuesday. Temperatures will warm through the 40s and actually end up near 50 by day's end, even warmer midweek. But we're also tracking some rain. Some showers show up Tuesday morning. They don't last all day. They actually get out of here Tuesday afternoon. And at that point, that's when temperatures are expected to warm as we head towards midweek. And that's the scene here.
I'm meteorologist Vitas Reed looking at your southeast forecast highs for the day. Looks like we're going to continue to see cool temperatures up in Raleigh for the high. 54 degrees compared to 70 in Macon, 74 in Pensacola. A little warmer air down in parts of Florida and parts of the south. The Gulf states are getting a return flow from that area of high pressure, keeping it dry down here. But as you get up towards Nashville and Tupelo, there could be some clouds, a few spotty showers moving in as we go through the day. Next system moving across the Tennessee Valley will be bringing us a little bit of rain in those regions.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
And welcome back, everyone. For decades, NASA and NOAA have been keeping a careful watch on our changing climate. Each year, they release an update on the hottest years on record. And recently, they added 2022 to the books. Emily Gracie spoke with NASA oceanographer Jeremy Wardell to find out how 2022 actually stacked up.
Well, per NASA analyses, 2022 has tied 2015 for the 5th warmest of all time.
So when you're looking at the past 10 years, because obviously 1 year doesn't make a huge difference, but the past 10 years, how is that looking in comparison to past decades?
Okay, so the past 10 years, at least 9 of the past 10 years are in the top 10 of all time in the sense of the record that we've collected. And of course, you know, the year-to-year variations kind of go up and down. But the important thing in terms of this kind of analysis is really the long-term average trend. And so while, say, this wasn't as warm as 2020 itself, the general trend over the past several decades has continued to increase, having the last decade or so be the warmest decade of all time.
So you are an oceanographer. How do the world's oceans feel about this warming climate? What's the impact on the oceans?
What we're really seeing now is that the ocean heat content has increased substantially, and I believe it is at its highest recorded value this year as well. And so the ocean is basically the greatest absorber of energy that we have on the surface of the earth, and it gets transported around, but that heat is not going away. So it's either going to contribute to melting an ice cap or redistributing into places that are not typically warm, increased evaporation, or release of heat back into the atmosphere, which will continue to fuel a rising temperature portfolio. And then, of course, like everywhere else, you know, the oceans are seeing their own extreme events.
What do you see for future years as far as global temperatures?
It's not all doom and gloom. You know, we can be smart and make good decisions, and, you know, things that we do now will impact what, you know, years from now look like. I'm going to be glass half full on this. I'm going with hope on this one.
And head over to our YouTube page for a longer version of the interview you just saw, where Jeremy explains how NASA and NOAA measure the Earth's temperature. Just search the National Weather Desk on YouTube and be sure to subscribe while you are there. You can also just scan the QR code on the bottom left of your screen. One area that is seeing the results of warmer temperatures is Lake Winnebago in Wisconsin. And as Eric Peterson explains, this year's warmer winter is impacting the ice fishing season.
From the safety of the ground near the Merritt Avenue landing in Oshkosh, Gary Monday checks out the Lake Winnebago conditions.
Doesn't look good, especially along the shorelines. It's they get that runoff and it just deteriorates the ice.
A little farther north at Miller's Bay, open water is spotted along the shoreline here. And at Asylum Bay, only a few anglers test their luck on a soggy Monday morning.
The conditions this year, as everybody knows, the weather's obviously been very warm. On Lake Winnebago, the ice conditions are holding up fairly well considering the weather we've been having. For the most part, there's anywhere from 5 to about 10 or 11 inches of ice.
Chad Burns owns Burnsies Guide Service. He says warm weather impacts the shorelines.
The sun shines down in that shallow water and actually heats up the rocks, and it actually starts to melt the ice from the bottom up.
Burns says a week of cold weather will help. Until then, he says walking is advised.
Boy, you just use common sense, take your safety gear, take your ice picks, take your spud bar, wear a float suit out there, because the conditions change every day.
Back at Merritt Avenue, the landing gate is latched, and old Christmas trees mark some cracks in the ice. Gary Monday says he doesn't mind the mild weather.
I like it. But we've been pretty lucky, I guess, so far. We haven't had a whole lot of snow or anything.
Yeah.
It's good. Not good for the ice fishermen, but...
Parts of Texas are also seeing impacts from hot, dry temperatures. Some lakes are too dry for comfort. In fact, water levels at Lake Travis are the lowest they've been since 2014. But that's not the only water body with that problem. Adela Uchida has details from Austin.
There's no swimming at Jacobs Well in Hays County right now. That's because there hasn't been enough rain in the recharge zone, and Hays County Parks posted the heads up on Facebook.
When you have the weather that we've been having over the last 3 years and so little rainfall, Lake Travis has no choice but to drop.
At Lake Travis, the water is noticeably lower these days.
For everybody that's got interests around the lake and businesses and whatnot, it's not a good time.
Lake Travis Fire and Rescue is urging people to be wary of wildfires.
We're worried mainly about the risk of wildland fires that could occur.
There is no burn ban in Travis County. That was lifted back in November, but that doesn't mean fire is out of the question.
Our main concerns are going to be the dry weather and the dead grass and vegetation that we're seeing around the area. A few weeks ago, we had a freeze that killed a lot of plants.
There's no relief for the vegetation or the lakes in sight. Austin Water, too, is posting warnings urging customers to conserve as the long dry season continues.
This year, the winter in the Northeast has been very mild, and some are wishing for the return of the polar vortex. Syracuse meteorologist Violet Skybor explains what the polar vortex is and how it would bring colder temperatures to the region.
Let's talk about the polar vortex. You may have heard meteorologists refer to this term. It basically is a cold air mass that's over the north and the south pole of Earth. And it usually impacts our weather here in the United States. And I'll explain why. First, let's talk about the polar vortex. It's a large area of cold air right over the North Pole with a strong jet stream that has it spinning counterclockwise. Now, when that jet stream is strong, large pressure differences keep that colder air trapped up to the north, out of the United States. But when our jet stream becomes a little bit weaker, it starts to wobble, and some of those cold air masses can break off and head down to the south into the United States. That's when we have a weak jet stream. So that's when we get those cold spells over the United States from this.
And as we head to break, scenes of the Bitterroot River in western Montana.
Good Tuesday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buck-Michael. Some light snow across the northern plains today. Sunshine trying to break out across the south and some showers out towards the Ohio Valley. Tomorrow, though, we get our next weather maker. This is going to bring in some significant accumulating snow for a lot of Nebraska heading towards Iowa. We've got rain, even a few rumbles of thunder across the south for Wednesday. That continues heading towards the Great Lakes and the Ohio Valley on Thursday. And cooler air will be racing in for the end of the week.
Well, a good Tuesday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Chris Suchan. Look at our forecast today across the region, starting off with 40s and 50s, 60s near the coast. And during the afternoon, mostly to partly sunny, a little cloud cover up into the Texas Panhandle and Oklahoma, but really not that bad. A shower or two possible. Then Wednesday, we're going to be on the lookout for some heavy thunderstorms. Arkansas, East Texas, across Louisiana as we work our way through the afternoon. Behind that front, windy with lots of sunshine and mild.
Good morning. I'm meteorologist Rebecca Stevenson. Here's what's happening across the West. Temperatures dropping well below normal, moving into the southwest, into the Great Basin. As these temperatures get colder, we have a storm system tracking from California into the desert southwest. A lot of snow expected to fall, especially in the southwest mountains of Colorado. High elevation snow and a new round of rain for the Pacific Northwest. And that's the scene from here.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Some breathtaking images from Sunday night's launch of the SpaceX Falcon Heavy. This one was taken 500 miles off the coast at 35,000 feet. In another one, you could actually see the booster separation. In Gulf Shores, Alabama, a beautiful Sunday sunrise. All those shells not normally sitting on the sand. Thursday's storm left them scattered along the beach.
For more content like this, like the National Weather Desk on Facebook.
And check this out. Some of the icicles coming off this building grew diagonally. This happens when winds are strong. We're talking about around 40 miles per hour or stronger. The strong winds blow the water droplets that are dripping down the icicle to one side where they actually refreeze. This happens over and over again until the icicle appears to be growing to one side rather than straight down, making the icicle take on a diagonal direction instead of a vertical direction. We love to share your weather content on the air. You can find us on all of your favorite social media platforms, including Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Just search the National Weather Desk or scan the QR code on the bottom left of your screen, and we will be right back. Thank you for joining us. Tomorrow on the National Weather Desk, we take a look at new technology that lets you predict future temperatures. I'm Angela Brown. Make it a great day, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.